As the clock strikes 7, the vibes alive. Inner circles here, where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the call. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the call. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the...
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle podcast. Today is Wednesday, February 18th. It's our business and finance segment. Every Wednesday, we'll come to you with business and finance. And tonight, our topic is relief or recovery. What small businesses really need after the surge, after Operation Metro surge. What do small businesses need to recover? Things like that. So there has been a lot of announcement from the governor, from private individuals, from private foundations. So tonight we are going to dissect what all that means for especially immigrant small businesses. I'm your host, Abe Kamara. I'm here with my co-host, Miss B. Miss B, welcome to the show.
Good evening, everyone. It's the girl, Miss B, minding the business that pays me every Wednesday, business and finance.
Okay. Well, folks, you can join the conversation by putting a comment in the chat, calling our number 952-594-5154. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Those are all growing communities. We are all over. So thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it. Ms. B, I know last night we discussed, right? ICE, DHS, so the federal government has announced that, ICE is leaving Minnesota. But in the wake of that, of them leaving, they have a lot of damage. lots and lots of damage, especially in the immigrant community. Small businesses, folks, a lot of businesses either close their door or have reduced hours. And the impact has been really, really huge, especially in heavily populated immigrant communities. Businesses have been really, really impacted. In reaction to that, the governor announced a $10 million forgivable loan. The Minneapolis Foundation, through donations from the largest corporations in Minnesota, is doing grant to small businesses. Do you think out of that is enough though? Is it just, how do you term that? Is it a relief or kind of is actually a recovery to help these businesses recover, or just a temporary band-aid?
It's a relief. It's not a recover, because recover will look at your long-term sustainability. So first they will assess the damages, and then they will look over what's the long-term sustainability of your business, and then they will provide those necessary resources. So whatever they're doing right now is just relief. If wounds are open, they're just putting a Band-Aid over it, and after some time, businesses will be back on their own to figure things out. Because the reality is that a lot of these businesses were already struggling. It took our businesses a long time to recover from the pandemic, and then George Floyd, and now Metro surge. It's like, how much can these ethnic economies continue to take before they're just completely, destroyed?
Okay. Well, I mean, to Ms. B point, where she's talking about relief, I guess the reason why she's saying relief, right, because it's kind of a relief is short-term stabilization, right, in terms of rent, payroll, utilities. That's what relief is. Now, recovery is rebuilding revenue, customers' confidence, or workforce stability, right? That's what a recovery will look like. Obviously, to your point, I don't think the government state of Minnesota or the federal government have done any kind of a knee assessment or full assessment to see what damage was done, in terms of to know what the needs are, what these businesses need. Obviously, I've heard some small businesses going to the capital. The Minnesota State Legislature opened yesterday for business. They are in session, so small business owners are going up there making a case, and they are also making a case to the city and things like that. But coming up with the announcement of the $10 million, are you saying that the $10 million from the governor, that's a short-term stabilization stuff? That's not in that won't be for recovery.
No, because let's just show you how minute your 10 million is. And appreciate the 10 million, Governor Walz, but Hennepin County, that's just one county out of all the counties in Minnesota, which is the largest county, has a budget of annual budget of about $2 billion. Within that budget, I think monthly, Hennepin County addresses $2.3 million in providing rental assistance to homeowners monthly. So the idea that 2.3 is about a quarter of this 10 million. You're
this is not for individuals. This is for business. I mean, 10
the
million.
equivalent. It's the equivalent of what we're talking about, right? Because rent, mortgage, business rent, mortgage, they're all the same type of, price margins when you think about it. As we're looking through applications and providing relief to businesses, they're averaging rents anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 a month, right? And that's on the small scale. When we know restaurants, even at the smallest, let's say about 63 capacity size restaurant, you're averaging about 5,000 to almost 10 grand a month for your restaurant rent monthly. So the idea that the county alone addresses $2.3 million in rental assistance, right?
Not the businesses though.
But that's why I said rental assistance to homeowners. And that's the county. That's just the county setting its monthly budget. This is a one-time $10 million. That's to show you how
Not
minute.
the individual, not the businesses. Again, let's clarify that the individual.
It's the same.
How is that going to be equivalent? How is that going to be? We're talking about.
I explained to you why it's the same equivalent, right?
Okay.
A lot of our mom and pops are one owners, one owners, two owners. Sometimes you're only dealing with the owner and maybe two or three couple staffs, right? So it's the same equivalent, right? Most of this money is just going to help with rent. Every application we got from business owner was saying rent. So this 10 million is going to get eat up by rent. And when I'm saying on a regular basis without ICE, let's look at an entity that deals with rental assistance, whether it's business rental assistance or residential rental assistance. Rental assistance is rental assistance. They're all renting. The business is renting, and the community member or resident is renting. And we deal with a 2.3 million budget monthly in rental assistance for homeowners. For renters, people who live in apartment complexes or rent a home from somebody, whoever has a landlord. So the idea that a one-time $10 million is even like a real relief is very minute. Yes, we appreciate the help. And then this $10 million, and not say, first come, first serve, it's open to everybody, right? Your business size is about $400,000. I just got done helping a business owner from completing an application, which I thought these applications were going to be simple. 6 pages.
So let's clarify that. Maybe jumping ahead here, right? Okay, I will take your argument. I will take your argument about the money is small, but I won't say it's small, what I mean, and things like that. But I'll take your argument for that. But let's take a step back. Are you saying, I know the governor announced it last week, so is that process active right now that you can actually apply for that $10 million forgivable loan as small businesses in Minnesota, especially in the metro, where you have a lot of these ethnic immigrant businesses? So it's the application from D, right? Because D is the agency that is managing this $10 million. Is that application active right now so folks can apply?
No, to show you the urgency, right? That it's not even addressing, because it's not. Session just happened yesterday. They
But the
won.
governor is not waiting for session, though,
No,
isn't
he's
it?
not waiting for session, but he wasn't really doing any work because he could have brought this money into play since January, because Metro Surge been going on December. So his timing, I'm sure, is coinciding with session. And no, the money has not been released yet for people to. No application is out there right now for businesses to complete. The only application that businesses are completing is the one that is provided by the Minneapolis Foundation, and then other community organizations who's already had mutual aid, mutual assistance already going since January to address some of the things that have been happening.
Okay, okay. And then, so we don't know, okay, the application for the 10 million, the process for the 10 million haven't started, but the criteria there is, if I get it correctly, is like businesses that have 200,000 in revenue, 200,000 to 4 million in revenue,
400,000.
or
400,000.
400,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I thought I saw 200,000, but 400,000 in revenue. Those are the qualifications and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Okay. 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 And then, the loan size, what, 2,500 to 25,000? That's what
Uh
that's what I saw. Is
yeah,
like,
2,500. No, I saw 2,500 to 10,000.
no, 25,000.
25,000. Okay.
Yeah,
So many grants going around right now.
depending on the impact and the need. The 2,500 to the 10,000 you saw, I think that's for the Minneapolis Foundation.
Yes,
The
yes.
Minneapolis Foundation was 2,500 to 10,000. And then again, depending on the impact and depending on the need and all those stuff, right? Those are the things. But I know you guys are active in the community helping small businesses. So for those, and I know the Minneapolis Foundation one is open and you have to go through a third party, right? That is managing it. It's not directly from the Minneapolis Foundation. But our
So
businesses in
not
the
really a
community,
third party, because you are completing the application on their website. And what they will do then is they will direct your application to that third party to
well,
release
that's
the
what I'm saying, right?
money.
There's a, I mean,
Because I don't want to confuse people. You can't complete the application anywhere else but on the Minneapolis Foundation website,
yeah,
because I want to make sure people are,
I
but they
agree.
are not going to disseminate the money to you. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And but the when I say third party, right, you fill out the application there, but the determination is going to be made by that third party, not by the Minneapolis Foundation.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And once you are qualified through that agency or through that nonprofit or through that agency, then the Minneapolis Foundation through that agency will disperse the funds.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now I guess with the let's focus on the Minneapolis Foundation one though, right? I know the application process is open. Are folks in the community, do they, I mean, how's the word getting out? Because sometimes that's a disconnect with these nonprofits, right? Especially with nonprofits in our how's the message getting out to small businesses in our community, especially for African immigrant businesses? How's that message getting out? Is it even getting out?
It's getting out.
It
It
is?
really is getting out. For
Okay.
our mutual aid started January, I want to say January 10th. To now, to date, we've had about 190 applications for our little buckets or funds, right? That's for the community organization. And so even now, it's like every day, multiple times a day, I'm getting emails. And then what I'm doing is I'm forwarding that information. We're getting a lot of walk-ins, supporting people with the application for the Minneapolis Foundation, which they have 2 applications on their website to complete. And people are calling. So the word of mouth is really getting out. I think if one thing our community has gotten good at is about sharing grant support, grant relief, business grant resources. People have always been checking since COVID anyways. So it's like one of the questions we get asked on a regular, are there any business grants? Are there any business grants? And so, of course, now, given what's happening, I think people are readily more aware and know. And that's data we'll get back from the Minneapolis Foundation, like how many applications did they really get and how many people were they able to help with the resources that they have.
Okay, okay. And so the Minneapolis Foundation one, we don't know the entire pool for that amount, right? It's like how much. I think like what I heard the last
$4 million. Do we
4
know how
million.
many it's going to be able to help? No, not until they get done helping people.
Well, 4 million that could go a long way, right? If the minimum amount is 2,500 and the maximum is 10,000, that could go a long way. It could actually help a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, your argument yesterday was a lot of our businesses are not earning like the 200,000 or 400,000 in revenue. So I think the Minneapolis Foundation one is going to direct, help those businesses that you're advocating for yesterday or you're talking about yesterday.
Oh no, definitely, definitely. But again, it's a smaller pot. Is less than half of what the governor is going to put out there right now. And you can get to, I don't know how they're going to differentiate. Okay, who got something from where versus multiple people getting and nobody, and some people getting nothing altogether, right? So that's why advocating for some of the eligibility criteria to look differently, and advocating for more money from the governor is something that community organizations were at the Capitol doing today and will be at the Capitol again tomorrow. And we're not just asking for business relief. Also, there's housing support that is needed as well.
Well, let's focus on the businesses and maybe we'll talk about the individuals a little bit, right? Because obviously you've been hearing in the news that a lot of folks are people are not working, folks are not working, folks are stuck in though, they're afraid to come out there, and now, either their cell phone is coming due, rent is coming due, everything is coming due, right? They need help there, but nothing has been, set in stone. So who's going to help them? Obviously, there are some private individuals, right? Private non-profits or individuals doing community organizing, helping people with rent assistance, food assistance, and everything else. We'll talk about that, but let's focus on the businesses, right? With these businesses, I mean, you guys just running to the capital advocating for more money. Why don't you wait and see what's the impact this relief as you are calling it, the 4 million from the Minneapolis Foundation and the 10 million that is coming from the governor office, what that is going to do in terms of stabilization. Why don't you wait for to see the impact of that instead of requesting more money? Because what I'm trying to drive at here, our state has a problem with fraud, and you guys just running for more money, more money. What can you wait to see the impact of the 4 million or the 10 million first?
So, like, I was going to talk about the application process. So, right now, the Minneapolis Foundation grant, you have to state what was your 2024-25 income. You also have to produce financial documents, even though these are grant funds, right? So, that's going to address some of this fraudulent things that you're talking about that should limit our ask, right? So, there are legitimate documents will be asked in order to receive grant money, as if you were applying for a loan almost, right? Which I was kind of shocked, as I've been helping business owners complete the application. They ask, provide profit and loss statements, right? November, December, and January. And these are things I know that our businesses don't really readily do. Filing the taxes, yes. Most of them were able to tell me their 2024 numbers. They haven't even begun to know their 2025 numbers. So that's what we're completing the application with, using 2024. Profit and loss statements, those are not things that they're supposed to be doing those monthly, let alone to say they have 3 months worth. It's not there. So again, the most prepared people, the people who are used to getting money, will have all these things readily available and ready to go. And knowing traditionally our businesses don't have these things because they don't have the bandwidth to have these type of administrative or back office things ready to go, they will end up not getting these resources. I mean, yes, I'm glad there's a lot of multiple things out there, buckets of resources out there right now, but they're still small buckets, and they still continue to be mainly for Minneapolis, St. Paul. Like African Immigrant Development Center, African Economic Development Center has resources, but their resources are only going to be for St. Paul or St. Paul businesses, right? And then you have NDC, who, again, the Promise Act Fund is still continuous, which is they're promoting that heavily now because of what's happening. But it's still only available for Minneapolis and St. Paul businesses as well. And so the governor resources coming out was, again, kind of heartbreaking to see the eligibility criteria that it's not going to address the Northwest suburbs, which continues to be left out. So those are some of the ongoing conversation we were already having prior to the surge that we now need to elevate and highlight even more.
Okay, okay. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing relief of or recovery, what small business already need after Operation Metro Search, where the federal government announced last week that they were pulling ICE out of Minnesota. But in the work of pulling out, there have been a lot of damage, a lot of damages done to immigrant-led businesses, to small businesses, things like that. So now in the wake of that, the aftermath of that, the governor has announced $10 million. The Minneapolis Foundation has announced $4 million to help small businesses, and so that's what we are discussing tonight. If you're a small business owner, you need help with the application, especially for the Minneapolis Foundation. Miss B is seeing her organization can provide assistance. Or there are other folks out there. I've seen individuals, posting so they can help with application. Just know, go to the right resources, go to the right individuals, go to the right organization that can help you. If you're a small business owner, you have a question tonight, you can call our number 952-594-5154 or put a comment in the chat. But besides the $10 million or the Minneapolis Foundation $4 million, are there any other, like, is the city of Minneapolis? Because I've been hearing where folks are calling the city of Minneapolis to do something, and the city, I mean, the mayor is saying we don't have the money, right, to help small businesses. Or maybe like the city of Broken Park or the city of Broken Center. Are there city specific help that's available to small businesses?
Yeah, Brooklyn Park has resources available to small businesses. Brooklyn Center, it's limited. Minneapolis has made some things available. I believe there were conversations with a council member, Chavez. I'm not sure if it passed. Was pushing for resolutions for businesses in Minneapolis. So I don't know if it got passed in Minneapolis, but again, there are resources out there for Minneapolis businesses, whether or not the city of Minneapolis puts additional resources out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about the existing resources, right? Because obviously the existing resources have always been there, but like now resources in the aftermath of the whole ICE operation, right? There's like like, has the city of Broken Park announced anything to help businesses within Broken Park, or anything? I don't know whether the legislature, I think we'll try to bring Huda on here to see what it is she's working on for, for her community, or maybe, we'll try to bring even representative, the other I just forgot his name.
XP Lee.
SP Lee. We'll try to bring them on here to see what are they doing for Broken Park or the Northwest Metro businesses, right? It's like what are they doing at the state capital level? But has Broken Park announced, Broken Center, have they announced anything for small businesses?
Brooklyn Center, no. Brooklyn Park, I was at a meeting today, and Brooklyn Park was there, and they did share some grants coming out for business stabilization and housing stabilization. So we can look out for that. I don't believe these are existing things because I don't remember the city having business grants in the past. So these must be new resources. And they already provide a business loans and micro loans as well. And so, it's a good opportunity to leverage the grants to be able to apply for loans. People, you can be strategic, right? Let's just say you were even looking for a business loan. Your grant can be considered equity in that underwriting process. So I want you guys to think about that. If you're able to apply for all these different grants and you're able to get a good $10,000, $20,000 in grants, that is equity you can use to match for another $20,000 in loans. And the CDFIs can give you good loans, with good terms and pretty low interest rate versus going to banks. I know cities interest rates are look like 2%, 3%. And so be smart about the resources that you're getting now and see how you can leverage them to even get more resources.
Yeah. Yeah, folks. I mean, if you are listening to us tonight, we are discussing relief or recovery. What small businesses already need after operations measure search. There are a lot of, the state have announced $10 million to help small businesses. Minneapolis Foundation have announced $4 million. Other cities, other, I mean, maybe Hennepin County is thinking about helping, I mean, small businesses. So if you're a business owner, you're an immigrant business owner, to Miss B point, it's time to take advantage of that opportunity. I know we always complain we don't have access to capital, we don't have access to capital. But what effort are we making, right, in order for us to gain access or get access to capital? I mean, you're talking about businesses, established businesses or businesses in the community that don't have profit and loss statement. Maybe I need to offer my services as a business consultant, because how can a business how can a business be operating without these, right? These should come in handy. This should be standard. You know what I mean? This should be, as a business, it's not just a bank account of filing taxes, right? How you tracking revenue? How you tracking, your expenses and things like that? Your profit and loss statement tells you that. So if businesses out there they are not doing that, it's gonna that to me is a hindrance to that. To them getting, to them having access to capital, right, and things like that. So how you guys navigating that as you help them with, I know temporary now you are helping them, but what are you telling them long term to be a sustainable business? So for not even the banks, but for even the state to take it seriously, for funders to take it seriously, those are things that you need to have your ducks in a row.
This is the reality. Let's just say out of 100 businesses, the reality is only 40% are serious about their business. And the 40% are serious to the fact that they show up every day, they go to that business, and they do what the business needs to stay open. And out of that 40%, probably only another 10% take actual actions to address infrastructure and operational things that need to go into their business, for their business to be sustainable, and then for their businesses to scale. Because a lot of these folks are coming now for us to support them in this application. Some of them are new to our organization, even though we've been existing for years now. They're new to us. And the only thing they're coming and taking advantage of is our helping them to complete an application for these grants. After that, we may not see them again. Whereas you came and we can do so much more for you, right? As you're talking about profit and loss statement, we have consultants who can do that. We have access. We can provide you access to an accountant. We can provide you access to a lawyer. We can provide you access to somebody to help you with your business plan. We can provide you access to somebody to marketing. And all of this is free. But what's going to have to happen? They're going to have to make time. They're going to have to make time outside of their business. And the trajectory to utilize these technical assistants and see results on average is about 18 to 24 months. And oftentimes what I'm finding is they don't want to put in the time. But I have great testimonies about people, who when they do put in the time, there's a guy 2 years ago, he and I had a one-on-one consultation for our TA process. 2 years later, he's about to get a loan for his business. He's about to get access to a grant, that's going to support his loan. He's been able to get a wealth of support, and he's excited, right? About and has clients already. 2024, he did nothing. 2025, he actually has numbers to report that he had a successful year in 2025 while still going through our TA process. And now in 2026, he's going to be closing on some loans to grow his business to the next level. That took time, and he did the work. And that's what some people don't want to do.
Okay, so even though we are complaining that the money, the 10 million might not be enough, is a relief. There are a lot of businesses out there now. They are hearing about these funds. They are hearing about these. These grants or this forgivable loan. They just want to come forward. Without all the infrastructure in place for them to qualify. For them to qualify for it. So if that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing you saying. Is it?
Yeah, because 40% is a lot of businesses. I think the state has 300 plus thousand small businesses. And when I say small business people, that's the SBA definition of, I think, I forget, like a net income of $1 or $5 million. So just think you have 300,000 of that size just sitting. So there's more, as we know, Walmarts and Targets are here. They're making more than that, right? Billions and billions of dollars every year. So anyways, 40% is still a huge amount of businesses. When you think of 40% of 300,000, that's still a huge amount of business, right? And because that is still a huge amount of business, that's why the need is still a lot, because you do have a huge portion of people who are good candidates for these resources and have been great sustainability for the ethnic economy. And so we want to make sure that although you're going to have some folks who will just be able, and it happened during the pandemic, who will just be able to access resources because they're available. But we want to make sure that it's enough available so that the people that really do need it are able to access it. Because I'm really working with restaurant owners this week, these last couple days up until tonight, after hours. Help my last client I was working with before hopping on the show was a restaurant owner. Been in business since 2018 and has been directly impacted by ICE. Is in the core or area that we're talking about. And I know hundreds and hundreds of businesses like this. And so when their rent alone, just rent for this restaurant I was speaking to, and they're pretty small, is $3,500 a month, which that's just a rent. That's not utilities. That's not water. That's not electricity. They pay everything themselves as a business owner. The landlord does not cover anything. You pay your rent to the landlord, and then the rest of the utilities, everything is on you, the business owner, to cover.
Okay. And what I mean, so for that business, then are they only qualify like for your client that you're talking about here? Would they only be qualifying for the Minneapolis Foundation one? I mean, because the revenue threshold for the $10 million forgivable loan is $400 million. I mean, are there any business or company that will even meet that threshold? If it is, even if it is 200,000 or it's 400,000, I know you alluded to this yesterday that a lot of businesses in our community might not or will not or might not meet that threshold.
No, there's a lot of them that this particular business I was working with, as people are reporting their numbers to me, I haven't addressed anybody over the $200,000 threshold.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
unfortunate thing.
So, what? Right now, the only thing they have to work with is the Minneapolis Foundation one that that are giving the minimum of 2,500, maximum of $10,000. That's the one. That's the grant folks are going for. And then I guess, as you said, right, your advocacy now is for the state to what to is it to reduce the requirements, maybe to setting to setting revenue threshold? Is that your advocacy, or you're advocating for more? Are you
We
community
have,
organizations
I mean, he did it.
advocating for more money or
Yes,
advocating to
more
reduce the
money,
threshold?
different pot. He did it during the pandemic. Like I said, when the first roll of money came out, it was $32 million. It was for these same usual suspects, the 400 and up people. And so what he did was
Who are the usual suspects? You keep saying usual suspect. Isn't it immigrant
the ones
businesses?
that meet the usual suspects are the ones that meet the cookie cutter definition of what SBA determines a small business. Those are the usual suspects.
Okay.
And then second round of funding came out, and he was intentional. It wasn't half of, it was more than half of the 32. It was $18 million that came out during the pandemic. And he was intentional to say these were going only to minority businesses because he realized they had drastically been left out of that first round of funding that came out.
Okay. Okay. Well, folks, so now we are discussing all of the help that is available to small businesses out there, or the announced help, or the help that is coming. So is it a relief or recovery? What small business really need after Operation Metro Search, right? It has really, really impacted small businesses here in Minnesota. I don't know. I know other communities might probably be doing it, but Minnesota is always unique. We like to help one another. The governor, has announced $10 million to help small businesses. The revenue threshold, Ms. B is saying $400,000. I have seen $200,000. It's something we need to clarify. What is the actual amount? Amount to qualify. But then also, right, it's a forgivable loan. The $10 million from the governor that the governor announced last week is a forgivable loan. It's 0% interest. You have to show that you are being impacted by the ICE operation. You have to show actual impact, and there has to be a need, to qualify. And then the amount is $2,500 to $25,000 that you can get, because they want to make sure they really provide that assistance to a lot of small businesses. But again, I mean, what I'm confused about, or what a little bit confusing here to me. If you are requiring a revenue threshold of 400,000 or 200,000, whatever the amount is, and then you're only gonna give out 25,000 max, make that make sense to me. What impact is that even gonna have on any on a business, on a serious business that is generating 400,000 in revenue?
Exactly. I mean, you answer that question because you've been trying to tell me the $10 million is enough. So I don't know how it's going to address. And again, where our my BIPOC businesses are not the only businesses that were impacted, right? So you have some non-BIPOC owned businesses who may have had BIPOC um, staff members working in their establishment, right? Like a Crave, right? Who had, ICE detained employees, or, some of these bigger restaurants that he's,
I'll just say like every restaurant,
yeah,
every restaurant has a
every
Hispanic
restaurant,
employee.
exactly. Because I think we
Yeah.
talked about this before on the show. Um, yeah, so I don't know who $25,000 is really, because when I'm saying these small mom and pops are paying $3,500, $5,000 a month in rent, just think what those other folks are paying, 10 grand maybe or more a month in rent. And when you give me 25,000, and 10 of that is already going to pay rent for 1 month.
So probably it's truly like a temporary relief. Then you know what?
It
ICE
is.
is, ICE is leaving. ICE has announced they are leaving. So here's $10 million, right? Apply for it real quick, just so that you can maybe talk to your landlord to meet your rent. Maybe you're already behind on your January rent. You're already late, right, on your January rent or February rent. Cover that, and then we'll talk to the legislature to see what they can do for maybe for long term recovery, right? How can the state actually help small businesses? And to your point, there's not only like immigrant businesses, but any business that is within that impacted areas, right? That I mean, the entire state Operation Metro Surge, I would say maybe is the entire state, even though the Minneapolis St. Paul area, the Twin Cities Metro, was heavily impacted. But it's for all businesses, all small businesses, what are immigrant businesses, what are minority businesses, it's for all businesses, but those that have been impacted. So truly, to your point, the 10 million might be for folks, it's a true relief, right? And then maybe like the state, maybe they'll reach out to the federal government for a long-term recovery because the impact actually, there has been real impact. Some businesses, some restaurants have not been opening. A lot of Mexican restaurants have reduced hours. Businesses, a lot of restaurant in our community have reduced hours or they were not serving, right? Because folks were afraid to get out. So yeah, there are real need. There's a real need out there. There's a real impact. So to your point, it is the $10 million or the $4 million. It's just a temporary band-aid, to
Yeah.
help folks.
And like you said, let's remind people that the governor's money is a loan.
It is a loan. 0%. It has a 0% interest, obviously. Yeah, but it's a loan.
Yeah, but it is a loan, right? And so again, there's going to be that extra underwriting process that's going to be happen because it's a loan for people to qualify for the loan. And the idea, some of the things that the questions were asking from the other application was, do you have
Um,
pictures to show closure that were happening online? When you temporary closure, which we did see some of that. I mean, some of these hibachi places in St. Paul, when you went online, said temporarily closed, temporary closed. So good thing they had those pictures happen. But when I think about strip malls in Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center, where our businesses are, and I know for a fact, I went to these places and they were shut down and businesses were not operating and closed for 3 weeks. I don't think anybody was thinking about taking pictures. I don't think anybody was thinking about posting it on their social media that they're temporarily closed. So it's these things that are really going to differentiate how some people are more business savvy around their back office things and these social media things, and whereas other businesses aren't, but those businesses are still important to the community and are still valuable and have still experienced a loss, but they may not be able to access these resources.
So for businesses, then that way, I should stay here, but businesses that have been impacted, how are they communicating with their customer? Right? If you are closed, how are you communicating with your customer? Is it word of mouth or you just close and then when your customers show up, they don't see you, and then they turn their
It
back.
happened today. Got to the office. There's a couple, they were trying to get into the restaurant next door to us and it
Hmm.
was closed. And I told the lady, I'm like, her husband and wife like, oh, is the place, is it still so and so business? I go, well, it did get sold in November. So the new owner is so and so. And but because of the ICE thing that's been happening, I don't know what what their hours are looking like, or what she said. And this was like around 11 a.m. in the morning, so they should have been open. I proceeded to go inside, and my colleague was telling me, oh, what's going on out there? And I explained to her. She's like, oh, they're open. I said, what do you mean? How do you know? She says, what it is that you order your food and then you come to pick it up. They're not allowing, you have to call them and order the food first, and either it gets delivered to you or you come and pick it up. And I'm like, but how are people going to know that? It's not even being communicated. And we do see people going there to pick up food. So it's like this real word of mouth thing that is happening. And it's a Latino business, unfortunately. That's the way in which some of these businesses have been forced to operate.
Well, maybe the other thing too, right? And I get a point that you're trying to raise there. The other thing too, they don't want to announce that before someone pick it up, and the ICE get a hold of, get a win of what it is that business is trying to do, and then they try to use whatever trick. Because I did see a report and I watched a video in Broken Center. These two ICE ladies went to went to this Hispanic guy house. He's a mechanic. He's from Mexico. He's a mechanic. He's been, I think he has his own shop or whatever. But since the ICE operation, he hasn't been doing any mechanic work. He's been stuck in though. So these two ladies, ICE agents, went there, pretended that their car was broken down, and
Yeah.
then they went and knocked on his door that he needed help. Right, they had their hood open, and then once he came out, he got jumped, by ICE agents and things like that. So to your point, right, people are seeing these things that ICE is using so many different tactics. So
Yeah.
instead of making an announcement about, my business is closed, you can call XYZ number, folks are just saying word of mouth. If you if you're an existing customer and you call our number, we are open, you know, kudos to you. Thank you. Now you have that information. You can let other people know that yes, we are
Yeah.
open. Count because ICE is using so many tactics, to target immigrants.
Yeah, I was surprised to find that out as well. Same thing. Business owner, Asian guy. I think he's from Laos. He owned a restaurant, just like you said. He had not been going to the restaurant, and unfortunately, ICE came to his house to detain him. Um, but similar situation. He's been going to do his check-in. Another guy from Laos, he's been going to do his check-in, went to immigration, and they said, "Oh, you're fine." And 2 days later, immigration sent people to the guy's house to pick him up.
Yeah, I
And now
mean, obviously,
he's
obviously,
in El Paso, Texas.
when it comes to the ICE situation, where they are using so many tactics, they are still, and even though, right, folks, if you are listening to us tonight, and even yesterday we talked about it, even though they announced that they are leaving, and you and Peterson talk about this, the community still has to be cautiously optimistic. We don't know whether they are still here. We're still hearing report that they are still active and things like that. I hear a report today. They said, like, I think Tom Hartman said about 1,000 as agents have already left. Other people are saying that's not true. There's still a lot of them still here. So just be careful, right? Just be careful whatever you are doing. If you know that your document is still not, there's something wrong with it, keep doing. Just keep being on the download, right? Just keep being on the download. But folks, so now we are discussing the impact of small businesses. I know the state, as we keep saying here tonight, the state has announced $10 million for forgivable loan, 0% interest. The revenue threshold, the income threshold is 200 or 400 million, whatever that number is. And you have to meet certain requirement. It's a loan, right? It's a
Yeah,
loan, and you have to show that you are impacted. The Minneapolis Foundation have $4 million. I think Hennepin County too has something. I don't know. I don't know what Hennepin County has
CRF,
specifically.
CRF has money. AEDS has money. So yeah, these are
So
different,
AEDS have money separate from what we
separate
are
from
talking
the state,
about.
separate from Minneapolis Foundation.
Okay, okay. So how can small businesses in our community learn about it? Is it reaching to your organization? Is it reaching to copy? Is it reaching to community organization to learn these things? Or going
Call
online,
any
doing that.
call any community organization. Everybody has all this information. We're all sitting in collective meetings, discussing what resources already exist, what resources can we continue to advocate for. So all the organizations got together. We created different subcommittees and looking if some of the committees are just finance, getting finance money in, and then the other committees are finance, getting money out to businesses. And these are across community organizations, CDFIs, community development finance institutions. Everybody's been coming together to make sure to advocate and keep an eye on what's available, what's coming in, and so forth.
Is there a database for all of the community organization that we have in our communities? Because that's the thing that if I want to know, if I want to, okay, you know what, I'm a business owner. Where can I go to find out, what's the best organization or community organization to talk to? Is there any kind of a database for community organization? Because a lot of time what you have or the problem we have in our community, right? Kudos to you guys. ESO is doing good work. Cappy, kudos to them. They are doing good work. But a lot of people don't know like you
It's
people
still hard.
exist.
It's true. It's still a lot of people don't know. And so what we're going to be launching is our resource hub page. And like I say, that page is going to do exactly what you're asking for to happen. It will try to be a one-stop shop where if we don't provide those resources, we'll still be able to share links for you to be able to have access to everybody that has resources. Right now, I say good places to go are deed. The deed website does keep a list of all the CDFIs that they work with, community development financial institutions. And so you're going to see the common ones, and they break it up by area. They look at the map. And so that's statewide. They'll be able to share with you what is in your area. So if you go to the state website and look for just say business grants, loans, or whatever, all these different things will come up. And sometimes these things can be hard to navigate. But yeah, the state website is a good place to start. Hennepin County Elevate is another great platform to use to be able to access resources and get information as one-stop shop. Acer, we are, for right now, we don't have it on our website. It's coming up. We're hopefully going to launch at the end of this month or early next month. But you can call us, and we're pretty well versed and knowledgeable about what are the different things that are available out there.
Okay, okay. Well, folks, obviously, I hope you can, seek the help you need as a lot of businesses. I know they were advocating for you guys, people have been pushing for moms and pops, but even businesses, maybe online businesses, right, might have been impacted. Business, not your traditional businesses, but even folks that are doing the informal, even like, I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to drive out here, right? Someone driving maybe like an Amazon truck or Uber or Lyft as a business, can they be qualified for any of these opportunities out there?
I'm not making those decisions, but you're right. I mean, our transportation, every type of business you can think of, where we have businesses, we have people in those industries. So,
Because yes, and the reason I'm bringing that up is like a lot of the Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, they just stop showing up because I,
yeah, they were
Amazon,
could not.
Amazon drivers, right?
Yeah.
Amazon folks, right, just stop showing up, and these are folks they are considered self-employed now. They don't have a registered business, obviously, but that's a whole nother. But maybe that's where the second help might come into individual helps, right? If individuals are going to get help, maybe those folks might fall in that bracket or in that category.
Well, I know if you're driving for Amazon, you must be a registered business. So I
You
know
must
that.
you must be. You
Yes,
sure?
yes, you have to have some DOT licenses and different insurances to be an Amazon driver. I forgot what they call it, to be like a third party Amazon driver. So let's just say I have my transportation business. There are certain things I have to have in place, paperwork that I have to have in order to get that contract.
Because the reason I brought that up, man, a lot of folks in our community do Amazon delivery, do Uber, do Lyft, and
Yep,
they were impacted. They were
they
heavily
were.
impacted by
They
they were
were.
heavily impacted by this because ICE knew that. I don't know whoever told them that immigrant those are immigrant favorite jobs. and so, and so and so and so they were targeting. I mean, And so they were targeting them. There's a viral video out here now where they went to this to this Uber lot and started questioning people. Right? Are you a citizen? Show me your papers and all that stuff. So they were intentionally targeting Uber and Lyft drivers and Amazon folks. So that's
Yeah,
why that's what
they
I brought
should.
up is that.
You're right. They should
Mm,
qualify and they should have access to these resources. They're
mm.
legitimate businesses that have been sustaining families, and so. But I don't get to make. I mean, this thing is a portal, and how and the size of people that are making decisions I mean, for us it was like as application came in, you got to find time every single day to review, and the for this thing to be open up basically statewide, that's just a lot. I don't know who has the bandwidth to look through, diligently through all this stuff and then still be requiring additional documentation as well.
Okay. Now that's the help from the state, from the county, from the city, from private foundation. You guys are advocating on behalf of these small businesses, on behalf of the community, on behalf of immigrant businesses. Are you guys talking to Amy, to Tina, to Craig, to all of the federal representative here in Minnesota to say, hey man, the federal government caused this damage here. What is the federal government going to do? Have you guys gone that far? I know Tim Walls, right? Your guy said the federal government needs to pay, but is there any conversation happening? You know,
Definitely. People were in DC last week.
okay.
A delegate of Minnesotans were in DC last week.
Talking to Amy, talking to Tina,
talk,
talking to those
talk,
guys.
talking to everybody to address getting rid of ICE and then also to
No, no,
address,
let's forget about getting rid of ICE.
yeah, to address resources. I received the
Getting
emails.
rid of because the thing about you, so you guys are gonna. I support ICE leaving Minnesota, but let's not talk about abolishing. Maybe we can reform it.
I didn't
I
say
support reform.
abolish. I
Oh, okay.
said getting rid of. Let me be distinctively clear. Getting rid of ICE, right? I
In
think
Minnesota, from Minnesota, ICE
I,
getting out of Minnesota.
I
Is that what
think
you're trying to say?
that whole defund the police conversation went so wrong because of language. Language is so important. Um, and so we're not saying abolish ICE. ICE has been here, and that's what I'm telling people. That's the reality. At the core, again, decreasing the amount of ICE agents, yes, is a band-aid. The reality, we still have some serious immigration policies that need to be addressed. At the aftermath, who is going to be at the front line, you know, in making sure there's intentionality put in place to address these immigration policies and laws that they should change. The idea that somebody comes here at age 6 years old and now age 52, you're deporting them back to a country they know nothing about. That's wrong. When they have been here, had a business here, had a family here, one of the stories, the man's son is in the Air Force, is in the American Air Force, so it's like I raise people who are now in these militaries and they're fighting for our freedom, working for the very homeland security, and here it is now I'm being deported.
Yeah. So I mean, I've said it many times. Since last year, since this whole immigration stuff started, I said right, the administration tactics or their policy, immigration enforcement is misguided. But you also look at it. I think that is all about the money. I was talking to someone earlier before we got on this platform on this show tonight. I said, I think there's a distraction. This whole thing is like a hair fake or a distraction, right? Because I think it's all about the money. And when you look at it, ICE got $75 billion in the big beautiful bill. $75 billion for us for agency under DHS, so just $75 billion. How are they going to utilize? How are they going to use that money? I mean, talk about corruption. That's these are my people, but how are they going to make use of that money? Someone got to, businesses got to, I mean, some businesses got to get paid because. So the whole thing, I think immigrants being used as a pawn. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to deport 14 million people. You might
No,
do some, you might get some, make some news, but I think the right approach should have been how can you regularize the 14 million people that are already here? Now get rid of the worst of the worst. I've said that many times. Get rid of those who feel they are the rapists, the gangsters, and stuff like that. If you come here, and you want to do that thing, that I mean such a thing, obviously you should face the consequences. But we have always advocated here on Psycho Podcast, and I've done that, I mean, many times that you're not going to get rid of 14 million people. Find a way to regularize their status. And then what? Close the border. reform immigration in a what holistic way. But if you just want to put on a show that hey that you're gonna because you want to justify you want to justify spending $75 billion plus more, it's like you're just going to me it's just a distraction from the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, right? This whole immigration debate has been going on since Ronald Reagan, since George W. Bush. I mean, it's like every administration has come. I think like immigrants and immigration is becoming like a cultural war, right? The both parties keep arguing over immigrants and immigration. That's not going to solve the issue. Find a way to see how best can you get comprehensive immigration, right? So
Mm-hmm.
regularize the status of people that are here. Close the border. If you want to close the border, it's like tighten the border. Not, but to your point, right? Going around someone that have been here at the age of 6, someone that has been here 50 years, 60 years, have worked all their life. Maybe they got a minor traffic violation now come and hunt them down and deport them. And so, oh yeah, you are getting rid of the worst of the worst. It
That's
just doesn't make it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then also the way you're discussing here tonight, impacting small businesses, right? Is like some of the businesses, even with this $10 million or $4 million or whatever $1 million comes along, they are still not going to survive because they just that fear is going to why
yeah,
exist. People are going to be afraid. People are going to say, God, I invested maybe 10 years in the business and then 2 months of ice came and just ruined it, right? I
yeah,
mean, will not be, customer will hesitate to come. You're not just going to gain back customers overnight. So these things will take time. So the destruction is not going to just be fixed overnight, and no amount of money is going to fix that. So the whole immigration thing I think it has caused a lot of damage, but it's an opportunity for us immigrants to actually push back on, as I said last night, on this whole narrative that immigrants are criminals or XYZ.
my thing is like, who are the people that are trying to catch the worst of the worst? And the worst of the worst people know how to hide from authority, you know. But
Or the worst of
these
the worst are already in jail.
they're not
Already, yeah,
even in
that's
jail. No, the
okay.
worst of the worst are on your FBI watch list. They have some CI enforcements who, private, you got detectives who are undercover for years to catch the worst of the worst. People, when I think worst of the worst, people who are leading sex trafficking rings, cartel level type people. ICE is not in the position. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the training. They don't have the skill, the intuitive need to be able to capture the worst of the worst. That's why we have FBI. That's why we have DEA. That's why we have detectives. And to the extent, that's why we have the CIA. Those are the people trained to catch the worst of the worst. That's where the data across the board continues to show the people that they claim are the worst of the worst that they have captured. When they look at their background, they don't even begin to address this worst of the worst or criminals. They're all people, like you said. I came here as a kid. These are things the average American citizen is going to jail for, coming back and getting a second chance. None of these people, from what I've learned and all the articles that I read, are these worst of the worst criminals that we feel that ICE is out there getting rid of. These are all people who have probably been here on political asylum. Your documents didn't get approved. You did get deportation orders. You couldn't go back to your country. So we created a process for you to have a work authorization, and you go and check in with immigration once a year, twice a year. So immigration already knows who you are, where you live. And so these are the same people we use just to validate this whole process. We baited these people, and now these are the same people we've detained that have not been harmful. We have allowed them to continue to stay in the country and giving them work permits.
Yeah, I think it's a distraction to justify, I would say that to justify the $75 billion. Because I was thinking about that $75 billion today. I said, man, $75 billion. Maybe I need to become a
Really thinking about
contractor.
that money, huh?
Yeah, I need to become a contractor. I need to call the White House. I'm a
What
supporter of the
would you do?
administration. Support
What are
of the
your skills?
administration. Support of the administration. Because I'm thinking about $75 billion. How they gonna? I mean, Christian
And
norm.
that's
I
just in
not
one department, you're saying.
That's just ice. That's just ice.
So we have money.
The annual budget
We have money.
enforcement,
Yeah.
whatever, is like it was not even close to, you
What
know.
was the annual budget used to be?
I think what I heard was, I could be wrong, but I think it was $10 billion annually. I think, right? Annually. Now they have given them like $75 billion. Boom. It says like, tell me how you. I don't think it was even. I don't think it was even. I need to. I need to
The
Google that.
type
I
of
don't think. It
money
was,
was given
I
to
don't think it was.
Ukraine.
I don't think it
That's the
was
level of
even.
money we're giving to Ukraine, in the height of the Russia-Ukraine thing. That's the kind of money we send overseas to address war.
Yeah. ICE budget annually. I don't think it's even up to a million. I don't think it's even.
In the billions.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So 10 billion. I was right. So it's 9.9 billion annually. Okay. So even so five like I mean the entire Trump administration 4 years. Wow, that's like $40 billion. Okay, and then they have that, and so the 75 billion I'm talking about is additional funding.
Additional to that 40 billion that they were going to have over the next 10 years. I mean, 4 years
No,
anyway.
4 years, right? So they are, according to what I just saw, yeah,
That's why I put them at like 100 and what?
their FY25 numbers was $10 billion. FY24, right?
Yeah.
It's like $10 billion. So I know last year the same amount, 10 billion, because that's what they're fighting over right now, $10 billion. That's how come that $10 billion number came to mind. So it's $10 billion annually, and then they gave them additional $75 billion in the big beautiful bill. Imagine that.
Is
So
it
it's like
only 75 billion or just over the next 4 years?
just over the next couple of years. I don't know, just over the next 4 years, I think. During
Okay.
the, yeah,
Praise
so
God.
so $75 billion during the next 4 years,
Plus
plus the
40
10
billion puts them
plus
at
yeah,
$115 billion.
yeah. So that's what they have, and man, that's a lot of bread. So it's like no wonder Christian Norm is she's so frisky. I'm just kidding, folks. I'm just kidding, but man, you
Highest
know,
of highs up. Just imagine their annual salaries.
forget about that. If you are a business owner and have a contract with ICE, it could be. I mean, it's like they said, private prisons are making a lot of money. 'Cause these prisons, they are not like ICE prison are contractors, are individual business or businesses building those prisons. They are not owned by a state or the federal government. The
Mm-hmm.
federal government is contracting, businesses that are building those prisons to house immigrants. So maybe if you can get into that line of business, or if you can get something to
Whereas
do
we've been
business.
shutting down prisons because some of them are dilapidated and they're not quality upkeep, haven't been
Well,
well kept.
ICE can come and repair them because they have $75 billion, and then they have additional $10 billion every year. So ICE can make use of it. But anyway, it's a 1 hour show. It's been a great show. We're
10 years ago,
providing.
we were doing prison reform.
Yeah.
Now
Now
we're talking about billions of dollars being spent to build new prisons. Wow.
to build new detention center. These are not prison, temporary, right? Because they feel like if they put you there, they're gonna deport you. So so eventually, once they are done deporting the 14 million people, maybe they'll close them
And we're
down.
literally paying countries to take people back at this point.
That's why they have 75
Because I
billion
heard
dollars, right?
I think they said Uganda or something like that is taking people.
Every
Somalia.
African,
Yeah.
every African country are pretty much signed up to that. You know, when African put your money, right? African government have money. They say, hey, bring that, bring it, bring it, give us some, right? If you don't want those folks, we'll take the folks and we'll take the money. So that's what they've been doing. But anyway, this is a 1 hour show. Great information for small businesses tonight. Take advantage of it, folks. We are small business owner. The reason why we are here every Wednesday talking about business and finance because we want to go generational wealth. And especially to you small businesses, man, get your ducks in a row. Do something about your business. Take advantage of all the resources out there. Take advantage of Acer, all these businesses all these organizations that are helping small businesses. But back to right, I know like the $10 million, the $4 million, whatever help that's gonna come along. Those are all like you know, temporary stuff. Long term, though, right? Do you think immigrant businesses are like undercapitalized, right, to begin with? Right? We are even talking about, is that when talk about capitalization, are immigrant businesses capitalized, and how can we solve that?
They are undercapitalized. And prior to all of this, data was showing in certain areas, the ethic economy is the future. And so cities that are depending on, big brand box stores to come back, where those days are behind us, right? And so the mom and pops are your tax base. They are, your economic engine. And so therefore the same type of intentionality we have put to bring in the Targets and the Walmarts and whatever big brand you could think about, JC Penney and Sears, we need to put those efforts now into the mom and pops. And statistically has always shown that these smaller businesses are our highest employers anyway. So when you want to address having low unemployment, having a higher tax base, this is where cities now need to be putting their money into in growing these ethnic economies.
As someone who has been a long time advocate for small businesses for the community, do you think now in Minnesota, right? But should they, I mean, with everything going on with immigration and immigrants, right? Because as you said, right, most immigrant businesses are the pillar of these communities, right? Sometimes like the North Minneapolis or even maybe South Side Chicago, right? These are immigrant businesses that are occupying these areas, right? A lot of places that, that the Target, the Walmart are afraid to go, immigrant businesses are the anchors in those communities, right? So should there be like a permanent immigrant business resilient fund? Because when sometimes like COVID, we saw it, right? Immigrants were immigrant because for us, immigrant businesses is like it's relationship, right? Relationship is that people become like if you come from Liberia or Ghana or Nigeria, you don't just go buy from a random business. I think the Mexicans are the same way, folks from South America, the Latinos are the same way. So anytime there's a crisis like the surge we have here, or this whole immigration crackdown, or like COVID, it really really impact immigrant businesses. So should there be like a permanent immigrant business resilient fund though, like so that we don't always have to depend on these band-aids?
Exactly. And so, what community organizations have gone as far as advocating for is even as far as the federal level with SBA. A lot of the things that you see that SBA was doing post pandemic has been community organization advocating. I've had a lot of conversation with our local SBA official in office. Because for me, I don't look at creating new tools, right? You got to meet people where they are. When people are accustomed to providing money the way that they feel that is successful, they want to continue that. And what I'm saying is that, okay, if you have existing programs that provide resources to businesses, the biggest thing that government dollars likes to provide business money for is to create jobs. So when you hear a deed or a city has given a 3M, or, I'm calling big businesses, but there are some businesses even smaller, right? Has given this business $5 million, and this business is going to create 63 jobs. $5 million to create 63 jobs. Let's look at our mom and pops. If we were going to say $5 million is being allocated just for Brooklyn Park minority businesses to create 63 jobs, that's huge. At the end of the day, what's happening? 63 jobs are still being created. And you're saying when we're saying job is being created by these companies that we're giving these dollars to, we're saying high wage jobs, not low wage jobs, where our mom and pops are always dealing with paying low wages because they don't have the operational dollars. We're talking about giving businesses 5 million, 10 million, one company to create 63 jobs where they're averaging annual salary of $55,000, $65,000. To create 63 jobs. That's a lot. That's a good tax base. So cities should be, intentional with working with legislature to say, hey, if I'm Brooklyn Park City Council or Brooklyn Center City Council, look at our ethnic economy. Look at what they're doing now with nothing. How do I get the legislature to put in dollars specifically to these two cities to create these jobs? Job creation is job creation. You shouldn't want to quantify another entity for creating jobs versus another entity for creating jobs when both of them are going to be able to help sustain the overall economy of the cities, period.
Okay. Well, that's a good one. I do agree. But again, right? I mean, it was like we have to have seat at the table. I don't think, someone is going to do that advocacy, anywhere in this country. If we don't have seat at the table, it's going to do that on our behalf. They will try,
6
you know.
election. Pay attention to who you guys vote into
Yeah,
office.
they will try, but I don't think they're going to do that. But anyway, great conversation tonight. It's a great, he said you always provide great information when it comes to businesses and, to the folks in our community. Hope they can take advantage of this, though, right? It is important, even though the $10 million hasn't been available yet, it's not yet available, but I know you guys will keep providing information to the community here on Inner Cycle Podcast. We'll keep, maybe say we'll bring, we'll always the D folks, kudos to them because they are the one who will be managing the $10 million. One that is open, we'll try to bring someone on here. They have been very, very open
Yeah,
to come on the Inner
definitely.
Cycle
Yes.
Podcast, to explain things because they are an important agency. I don't think a lot of people in the community
Very.
even know. I don't think a lot of people in the community even know about that, right? When you're talking about giving $7 million out to 3M or $10 million out to the agency, it comes from D.
Yep.
D is the one administering all of these economic, activity, and things like that. So D is a very, very important agency, and they have been really, really receptive to Inner Circle. Anytime we reach out for them to come on here to explain our
Yes.
policy or
Yes.
programs that they have. So we've been bringing them on here for the $10 million so they can tell us. Maybe we'll advocate so we can reduce that threshold. 400,000 revenue. That's too much, and things like that. Well, but anyway, great conversation tonight. But as we wrap up, man, what's your message to our businesses? As they try to take advantage of all of the resources, all of the help out there to help them recover or to help them with temporary band-aid.
First, I want to say thank you to all the philanthropy, CDFIs, to the state, most importantly, for making the resources available. We are very appreciative of what is out there right now. This is continues to show the state of Minnesota and how they are standing together in solidarity. We were on the streets, we were marching. We were rallying, and now our legislatures, our corporations, our foundations, our philanthropic folks are all coming together to continue to support that solidarity that community has put forward. And so we're excited and happy about what's out there, and want to continue the conversation to provide more resources to the small businesses. Small businesses, you have a part to play. You have a part to play in being organized, in advocating, speaking, elevating your voice, telling your story, and having your books in orders, having your operations in order, having your infrastructure in order. Because when you stand for something, nobody can say that you don't represent anything. And when you have your books in order, you are going to get the support and the resources that are due to you to help your business to grow. Get your
And that's
books.
the thing, definitely, man. And thanks for that. Thanks for that. But I want to also echo that. Sometimes you have a lot of business in our community actually making revenue, but maybe they're afraid because they don't want to report those revenue. Maybe they're afraid that hey, IRS might come after them and things like that, blah blah blah, right? So it's like, so we are not doing the things that will help us grow tomorrow or to take advantage of these kind of resources. Because if you want to be a serious business, you gotta think growth, or else
Mhm.
it's just going to be, you will be, I mean, business has a cyclical, or trend, Sunday good as in Liberia, Sunday good, Sunday bad, right? It's like you might have times, right? Like even out of the good home businesses that are very popular in our community. Now it's like, I mean, the federal government is coming after, Medicaid crackdown. It will probably be impacting them, right? The state is cracking down on, new providers. Those are things that might impact revenue.
Mhm.
So if you don't have your books in order, to your point, if you don't have your books, your numbers in order, you're not being doing things by the book or doing things the right way. When these resources become available, it's hard to make a case.
Yeah.
No one's going to help you. So
Nope.
I
That's
think our
exactly.
business, our small business, especially in our African immigrant community, really, really need to take. You got to take business seriously. If you want to be a business owner, take it seriously, right? Because to your point earlier, SBA is out here helping small businesses. That's what they
Mhm.
have, and they have lots and lots of money, lots and lots of resources available. There are banks out here, community banks out here, every time looking for businesses to help.
Mhm.
We complain that we don't have access to capital, but in order to have access to capital, they
It's
want
a
to see those
two-way street.
numbers.
It's a two-way street. You're
Yeah,
right.
the
It
numbers
is.
got to make sense, right? So if you're not working on your numbers and your numbers are not making sense, no one's going to trust you with those resources. So I think that's where we need to ready, with this $10 million, with the $4 million, because to your point, the reason why maybe the Minneapolis Foundation is asking for those requirements, they want to see, are you a serious business?
Yep.
Are you a even though it's a grant,
Rightfully
but
so.
are you a serious business?
Yeah.
So
Rightfully
but
so. I have nothing against asking for the documents. Just opening up the eligibility, allow people to be able to present their story, present their narrative to you.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah. Well, folks, a great conversation tonight. Hopefully, as I said, right, take advantage of those resources. The $10 million when it becomes available. The $4 million is open right now. Acer, I know other organizations are providing help. Please, please take advantage of it. We are committed on the Inner Cycle podcast to growing generational wealth. We want to see multi-million-dollar businesses. We want to celebrate wealth growth. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. You all have a good night.
good night, everyone.